Why desire is the root of your suffering. Buddha explains, imagine this: you wake up tomorrow morning and there's nothing left that you want. No craving for success, no hunger for validation, no yearning for a different body, a better job, a more perfect partner. No scrolling through social media hoping to feel something. No grasping, just stillness, peace. If that feels unimaginable, even terrifying, then you've already touched the edge of what the Buddha meant when he said, desire is the root of suffering. It sounds so simple that most people dismiss it. But if you really sit with it, if you live with that idea, breathe it, test it, it might just unravel everything you think you know about happiness, identity, and what it means to be free. Desire isn't just wanting things. It's the subtle tension that lives under your skin every moment you believe that this isn't enough, and that you aren't enough, that something is missing, and that you need to chase something outside of yourself to fill that void. It's not the object of desire that causes suffering, it's the clinging. That sticky psychological attachment to an imagined future in which everything will finally make sense. We say things like, if I just get that promotion, or if I just meet the right person, or if I can fix this one thing about myself, then I'll be happy. But the moment we get what we want, the mind moves the goalpost, and suddenly the next thing becomes necessary. The next goal, the next fix. And so we suffer not because life is cruel, but because we keep insisting that it should be different than it is.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
The Buddha didn't hate life. He wasn't anti-pleasure. What he saw, clearly and without illusion, was that we are addicted to wanting, but we worship it. We structure our entire lives around it. And the world, especially now, profits from that addiction. Advertisers don't sell products, they sell dissatisfaction. But they whisper, you're not enough, but you could be if you had this. Social media doesn't show you reality, it shows you a curated fantasy designed to make you want what others have. Even our self-improvement culture, which pretends to be about growth, often masks a deeper truth. We want to be better versions of ourselves, not out of love, but out of shame. And shame, like all desire, keeps the wheel spinning. So what happens when you stop? What happens when you stop chasing, stop grasping, stop believing the lie that happiness is always just one more achievement away? At first it feels like death. The ego panics. The mind scrambles to find something to hold on to. That's what withdrawal from desire looks like. And yet, if you stay with it, if you breathe through the discomfort and don't numb yourself with distractions, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to notice moments of peace that aren't based on anything external, but you start to feel contentment that isn't conditional. You realize that maybe, just maybe, the thing you were running toward was never real to begin with. This is the essence of the Buddha's insight. He wasn't offering a philosophy. He was offering an escape route, a radical reversal of everything we've been taught. He said, the more you want, the more you suffer. Not because wanting is evil, but because it creates a gap between you and the present moment. It tells you that now isn't good enough, that you aren't good enough. And as long as you believe that, you will live chained to your cravings, no matter how much you achieve, no matter how polished your life becomes on the outside. Think about it. When was the last time you got something you desperately wanted and stayed satisfied? Be honest. How long did it last? A day? A week? That's not your fault. That's how the mind works. It's not broken, it's just untrained. It's been conditioned to seek, to reach, to grasp. But what if your job isn't to get everything you want? What if your job is to see through the illusion that getting more will ever be enough? Now ask yourself, what is it you're chasing right now? Not just the obvious things, but the subtle ones, the approval, the routine compliments, the status, the feeling of being ahead. What if all of that is just desire in disguise? And if it is, what is it costing you? This is where the Buddha's message becomes raw, real, and urgent. He's not asking you to give everything up. He's asking you to wake up, to become aware of how much of your suffering is self-inflicted, to notice how much of your anxiety, your frustration, your burnout, your sadness comes not from life itself, but from your resistance to it, from your belief that something else, somewhere else, someone else will make it all okay. But what if nothing is missing? What if this moment, as it is, holds everything you need? Not in a poetic way, but in a brutally honest way. What if the only thing keeping you from peace is your belief that peace must be earned? The illusion of fulfillment, why getting what you want won't set you free. We live in a world that teaches us to equate desire with direction. The story goes like this: figure out what you want, work hard for it, and once you get it, you'll be fulfilled. You'll be happy. You'll be at peace. This is the core narrative of modern life, and it's reinforced everywhere from advertisements to education, from career planning to romantic pursuits. But here's the uncomfortable truth: fulfillment built on desire is a mirage. You chase it, you reach it, and for a fleeting moment, you feel the thrill. But then the feeling slips away, the satisfaction decays, and you're left with the same emptiness you tried to outrun. The Buddha saw this pattern over 2,500 years ago, and he named it clearly tanha thirst. Not physical thirst, but spiritual thirst. A craving that cannot be quenched by the world, no matter how much you drink. And yet, despite all evidence, we continue. We keep thinking the next thing will be it. The next relationship, the next level of success, the next version of ourselves. We treat life like a video game, believing that if we just level up enough, we'll finally unlock peace. But that peace never comes. Or rather, it comes and then it leaves. And so we blame ourselves. We think maybe we didn't do it right. Maybe we didn't want the right thing. Maybe we didn't want it hard enough. But what if the problem isn't how we chase desire? What if the problem is desire? Desire promises fulfillment, but fulfillment that depends on getting what you want is fragile. It's conditional, which means it's never truly yours. It can be taken away in an instant: a breakup, a rejection, a lost job, an unexpected illness. And this is what makes our pursuit of happiness so tragic. We build our sense of self on things we don't control. We tie our worth to outcomes that are often random, chaotic, or fleeting. And when they fall apart, and they always do, we fall apart with them. This isn't just suffering, it's avoidable suffering. And that's what makes it so tragic. Let's go deeper. Imagine you achieve your biggest goal. You finally get the success you've been dreaming of. You feel powerful, validated, admired. But beneath the surface, something strange starts to happen. A new anxiety creeps in. What if I lose this? What if I can't keep it? What if someone else takes it from me? The joy of getting what you want turns into the fear of losing it. And that fear is just another form of suffering. So even in your moment of triumph, desire hasn't let go of you. It's just changed shape. Can you see the trap? Desire doesn't end when it's fulfilled. It just mutates. It evolves. As long as you believe happiness lies in getting what you want, you will always be chasing, always reaching, always unsatisfied. And the world will cheer you on, because the world profits from your discontent. Every ad, every algorithm, every influencer and guru telling you to manifest your dreams is part of the same system. A system that depends on your sense of lack. But what if you stopped playing? What if you stepped off the treadmill and asked, what am I really looking for? Not the surface level answers. Go deeper. What do you think success will give you? A sense of being enough. A feeling of safety. Of love. What do you think your next relationship will provide? Intimacy? Connection? A sense of being seen? Now ask yourself this: is it possible to feel those things without chasing something outside of you? Could it be that what you're really longing for isn't the thing, but the feeling you believe the thing will give you? This is where Buddha's teaching becomes radically liberating. He's not saying you should live without joy. He's not preaching apathy. He's pointing to something more powerful, freedom from the illusion that joy must be earned through desire. When you stop needing everything to be a certain way, when you stop clinging to outcomes, something miraculous happens. You begin to experience life as it actually is, not as it should be. And in that raw, unfiltered presence, there is peace. A kind of peace that doesn't depend on achievement or acquisition. A kind of peace the world can't give and therefore can't take away. So ask yourself and really sit with this: what if getting what you want is actually the problem? What if every time you fulfill a desire, you reinforce the idea that you are incomplete without it? What if the very act of wanting is what keeps you from seeing that you are already whole? The Buddha didn't want to destroy your dreams. He wanted to set you free from the prison they created. He wanted you to wake up not to a world without beauty or meaning, but to a world where beauty and meaning are not held hostage by your cravings. He wanted you to see that the only thing standing between you and peace is the belief that you need something else to be at peace. The death of the ego. How letting go of wanting reconnects you to reality. To let go of desire is to do something even more radical than it seems on the surface. It is not merely the act of giving up goals or pleasures or ambitions. It is the quiet dissolving of something much deeper, the ego. That image you carry of who you are, what you deserve, what you must become. The ego is not evil. It's not your enemy. It's a tool, a psychological structure built to protect you, to help you navigate the world. But the problem is that we don't just use the ego. We become it. We identify with it so completely that we forget it's just a construct. We begin to believe that we are our desires, that we are our ambitions, that we are the image we've spent years curating. And the moment that identity is threatened, we panic, we defend, we suffer. Desire is the fuel of the ego. Every time you say, "I want to be somebody," there's a subtle whisper underneath, "because right now I'm not enough." Every time you strive to be seen, admired, envied, or loved, not out of genuine connection, but out of fear, you're reinforcing a self that is fundamentally unstable. The ego feeds on comparison, on projection, on future fantasies. It cannot exist in the present moment. That's why it hates stillness. That's why it fears silence. Because in the absence of desire, the ego starts to fade. And that feels like death. But here's the truth, and it's one of the hardest pills to swallow. The death of the ego is the beginning of real life, of truth, of reality. When you let go of wanting, you don't become a hollow shell. You don't lose your motivation or your purpose. You lose illusion. You lose the false identities that were keeping you stuck. You stop trying to be someone and you start being. And in that shift from becoming to being, you reconnect with something that was always there, quietly waiting under the noise: awareness. Pure, unfiltered awareness. The kind that sees without judgment, that feels without grasping, that lives without needing to prove anything. This is what the Buddha was pointing to. Not a life of bland detachment, but a life of radical intimacy with the real. When you are no longer distracted by the constant pull of desire, you begin to notice things you've never truly seen. The way light moves through trees, the exact shape of a friend's laugh, the miracle of breath, the sacredness of the ordinary. You stop measuring moments by how well they satisfy your cravings, and you start meeting life on its own terms. But this isn't easy, because the ego doesn't go quietly. It will fight, sabotage, and seduce. It will tell you that you're giving up too much, that you're falling behind, that without your desires, you'll be nothing. But here's the paradox: only when you stop trying to be someone do you finally become real. Only when you stop chasing fulfillment do you become fulfilled, not by something, but by being itself. And that kind of fulfillment can't be marketed. It can't be bought. It can't be taken away. So here's the question that cuts deeper than most. Who are you when you stop wanting to be anyone? When you let go of every title, every ambition, every storyline, what's left? If there's fear in that question, that's okay. It means you're close, because fear arises when the ego feels threatened. And the illusion of self is terrified of being seen through. But if you dare to keep looking, if you dare to stop chasing and start observing, you'll begin to see the world as it actually is. Not filtered through your desires, not distorted by your fears, just what is. And in that clarity there is freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from getting what you want, the kind that comes from no longer needing to. Freedom without fixing. How non-attachment unlocks the life you were already living. We spend so much of our lives trying to fix ourselves, trying to improve, to optimize, to become better, smarter, more enlightened versions of who we already are. And on the surface, that sounds noble. It sounds like growth, but underneath that drive is often a deeper, quieter belief, one that hides behind all the self-improvement. I am not enough as I am. And so we begin the endless quest to become someone else. We chase books, courses, gurus, habits, diets, routines. We turn our lives into projects. But what if the deepest kind of freedom isn't found in fixing yourself, but in letting go of the need to fix yourself at all? This is the heart of non-attachment. It's the realization that you don't have to constantly reach for more to be whole. You don't need to control every outcome, perfect every flaw, or earn your right to exist. You simply are, and that is enough. Not in a passive or lazy way, but in a profound, grounded, radically alive way. Non-attachment doesn't make you apathetic. It makes you available. Available to life as it is. Available to joy that isn't dependent on circumstances. Available to truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Available to the beauty of the moment, even when the moment is imperfect. But think about how much energy you spend trying to force life into your expectations. How often you resist what is and instead chase what should be. Non-attachment isn't about giving up goals, it's about giving up the illusion that you must achieve them to be okay. It's the difference between holding life like a clenched fist versus holding it like an open hand. One is tense, fragile, and exhausting. The other is fluid, receptive, and free. And the most surprising part, when you stop needing things to happen a certain way, they often go better than you imagined. Why? Because you're no longer operating from fear, from scarcity, from the obsession with control. You're acting from clarity, from presence, from alignment. You're no longer trying to manipulate the world into giving you peace, you're bringing peace into the world through your presence. That's the paradox. That's the power. When you stop needing anything to complete you, you meet life as someone already whole. But this takes courage, because our identity is so tightly woven into wanting, fixing, building. But if we let go of that, what's left? A silence, a stillness. And for most people, that stillness is terrifying because it's unfamiliar. And yet, in that silence lies everything you've been chasing. The calm, the clarity, the connection. It was never in the future. It was never in the outcome. It was always here. You were just too busy reaching to notice. So take a moment and ask yourself, what am I still trying to fix about myself? What belief is driving that? Who told you that you are not already enough? And what would it mean to stop chasing just for a moment and simply be with yourself without judgment, without improvement, without desire? That's the liberation the Buddha pointed to, not a life without effort, but a life without attachment. A life where you still love deeply, pursue passions, create beauty, but without the inner demand that those things must go a certain way to make you whole. You no longer grip your desires like lifelines. You let them flow like rivers. You enjoy them when they come and release them when they go. And in that release, you begin to live not as a seeker, not as a fixer, but as a witness, a participant in the miracle of being. You don't escape life. You return to it, fully, fearlessly, freely. And that, perhaps, is the greatest secret of all. You were never broken. You were never missing anything. The peace you've been chasing was never at the end of some distant goal. It was here. It was you, all along.